views and opinions expressed on My Story Living with Lupus podcast represents each person's individual experience. By listening to this podcast or reading our blog, you agree not to use this podcast or blog as medical advice to treat any medical condition in either yourself or others. As always, consult your own physician for any medical issues that you may be having. My Story Living with Lupus podcast is officially trademarked, all rights reserved. Thank you for joining me for another episode of My Story Living with Lupus. I'm your host, Susan Hendricks, and I'm so glad that you could join me on this Friday, August the 16th, 2019. This episode, I'll be discussing the common reasons why lupus patients are hospitalized. Also, I'm going to be telling you about my doctor's office visits that I've been going back and forth with for the last 2 weeks. So, you know what I want you to do? That's right. Grab your cup of coffee, your cup of tea, and if you're listening late at night, you know I appreciate it. So grab your favorite glass of wine, because I'm gonna get me some H2O. And come on and join me right here on My Story Living with Lupus. How many know what pulmonary arterial hypertension is? I'll give you a little time. Okay, time's up. Pulmonary arterial hypertension is a type of high blood pressure that involves the right side of your heart and arteries that supply blood to your lungs. These arteries are called pulmonary arteries. PAH occurs when your pulmonary arteries thicken or grow rigid and become narrowed inside where blood flows. Pulmonary arterial hypertension, better known as PAH, is considered a rare disease, meaning it affects fewer than 200,000 people at any given time in the United States. The disease is often difficult to diagnose because its symptoms are similar to other heart and lung conditions. Pulmonary hypertension is a rare and serious disease in which the pressure in the pulmonary, the lungs, circulation is above normal levels. Left untreated, pulmonary hypertension can cause permanent damage to the lungs, resulting in life-threatening right heart failure and death. The reason why I asked, did you guys know what pulmonary arterial hypertension is because I have that along with heart failure. And that's why I've been going back and forth to my specialist. The weather here in Michigan had been extremely hot for me And it brought on my symptoms. Now, the symptoms that I was having was chest pain, fatigue, and shortness of breath. It became very difficult for me to exercise, so I had to lay off of that. Like I stated, I've been going back and forth to my specialist. My pulmonologist informed me that my lung function is decreasing along with my heart function. So, no, I have not been feeling my best, but I keep going. Now, I went to my PCP on Thursday. He informed me, and my sister went with me, that he wanted me to rest, and that he sent us down to the hospital for me to have further testing. So I go back to my cardiologist next month. Also, I have bilateral scarring on both lungs, but there is no formation of nodules, so they are concerned about the scarring. The pulmonologist informed me that the scarring on the lungs could have been from an infection where I was probably hospitalized with. And I told him I've been hospitalized so many times that I don't even remember what I've been hospitalized for. But that has been what's been going on with me. So if you hear certain changes within my voice, please know that I am having a difficult time breathing at this point in time. Now, there is treatment for the condition, but there is no cure. And I go back to my pulmonologist in 2 more months, and we're going to discuss treatments. So we're going to go from there. Excuse me. But that is what I've been going through. And besides that, I hope that you have had a fantastic week, a peaceful week, and you didn't let the pressures of day-to-day life get next to you, because it's not worth it. But we're getting ready to talk about the top reasons for hospital admissions in lupus patients. Information was retrieved from Modern Medicine Rheumatology Network, dated July the 23rd, 2019. So are you ready? Do you have your cup of coffee, your cup of tea, and your glass of wine? I'm ready because I have my water. So stay tuned. If you would like to appear on an episode of My Story Living with Lupus, you can contact us at mystorylivingwithlupus@gmail.com. Also visit us on our Instagram page and also our website, My Story Living with Lupus. Entrepreneur and creator of Right Side of 50. And I am my sister's keeper. Sheila Smith, motivational and empowerment speaker, is available for your next empowerment event and conference. You can book her for your next event at rightsideof50@gmail.com. That's RIGHTSIDEOF50@gmail.com or call 470-330-1426. Each one encourage one. A 20-year-long retrospective analysis of 814 systemic lupus erythematosus, better known as SLE, related hospitalizations of 339 SLE patients reveals some interesting new patterns in lupus disease, from hospitalization rates to disease complications and mortality. Published in the July 12th issue of Lupus, this study identified the most relevant cause of death in lupus patients was due to complications from associated antiphospholipid syndrome, better known as APS, even though the main reasons for hospitalization admissions remained constant over a 20-year period study. Previously, the primary cause of death were identified as infection and active disease. But in this study, in addition to infection, the most relevant cause of death was due to complications from associated antiphospholipid syndrome, APS, especially catastrophic APS. Now, have to get me a sip of water. Just one moment. Mortality rates declined during this study, 2.4% as compared to 2.8 to 8.5 reported in previous studies. The patients were younger and had a longer mean duration of disease compared with other hospitalized SLE patients. The main cause of death described in the literature are infections and active disease. Therapy with malaria displayed a protective effect. This beneficial outcome was already previously related in the outpatient setting, with anti-malarials posing as a protective factor regarding severe infections, and seems to extend to hospitalization settings. Now, flares occur earlier during disease, with other causes of admission occurring later owing to accumulated damage. Therapy